these people know infinitely more than I do. And certainly indigenous practitioners are coming through practices handed down from generation to generation for hundreds of thousands of years. We haven't not beginning to scratch the surface there. But I've had enough time, I would say, as someone who's taken it very seriously and effectively had researching and experiencing and experimenting around psychedelics as my unpaid full-time job for 10 years, to say that once I had a platform, the number of emails that come over the transom from people who have been destabilized is not trivial, right?
No shit.
No, it's not trivial. And you can mitigate some of the risks. There are better, or I should say safer and less safe ways of approaching different psychedelics. And it depends on the compound, right? Like a psychedelic is not a psychedelic is not a psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are as different as completely separate classes of drugs in some cases, in my opinions. And even at different doses, they behave very differently. So it's like 10 micrograms of LSD is very different than 200 micrograms of LSD, as an example. But I would just say that take it seriously, right? And if you're going to consider these tools, the way I put it with folks, because a lot of friends come to me to discuss this, is I say, you should look at this as like you're having the neurosurgery example is a good one, but let's use perhaps a better comparison in some respects, which is you're about to have both knees or both hips replaced. Okay. So you're going to do a lot of homework on who's going to do that surgery, and you're going to understand all the risks involved. You're going to understand the durability, right? You might need to get those hips replaced later again. And what are you going to do? You're going to do a lot of rehab.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the surgery is the catalyst, but it's like if you have both knees replaced and you don't do any rehab, that could have a worse outcome than not having surgery in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do afterwards really matters. And there's a lot of, I think, compelling research and a number of theories around this that I think are very credible from, say, Gould Dolan, who is a researcher who I believe now is at UC Berkeley, used to be at Hopkins, who looked at MDMA extensively among octopuses also.
And octopuses?
How octopuses which are very asocial or antisocial most of the time, but how even with a completely different nervous system, how they would display prosocial behavior, just like humans on MDMA.
No, sir.
Really fascinating stuff. But what she is also looking at now is how you might use psychedelics to, and I might be getting some of the details wrong, but I'm not that far off, to say help stroke patients to redevelop motor control. Is there an application there? And the reason that she's looking at potential applications like that is that she believes certain psychedelics reopen a critical period or a critical window. Much like if kids don't learn to, say, speak a language within a certain age range, right? It's much later to do later. There's a critical developmental window for certain things. Can you reopen those windows using psychedelics? And it seems like the answer is yes. In which case, all of the advice that the old timers have been giving about integrations for people who might be familiar with ayahuasca in a traditional context, the diets afterwards, abstaining from certain things for a few weeks. What does that sound a lot like? It sounds a lot like what science is only beginning to scratch the surface of, which is the reopening of these critical periods or critical windows, within which you can start to rewrite behaviors like before the concrete sets.